This is how to cook rack of lamb on the grill without overcooking it. Now, most people who say they do not like lamb, well, they actually hate overcooked lamb. I'm gonna give you the target temperature, how to set up your fire, and I'm gonna be sharing a carryover trick so that you can nail this cook on your very first try. This is an 8-bone, pound-and-a-half rack of lamb, and it's been Frenched, meaning the bones are cleaned up for presentation. You can do that yourself with a little knife work, or just ask your butcher. We're not trimming much today, but I do need to get rid of the silver skin. Removing this helps the flavor get more into the meat. I'm also going to trim off this extra fat. This will expose more of the meat so it's seasoned properly. If lamb is hard to find near you, try Costco or ask your local butcher. Worst case, order online. I personally like Wild Fork, and that's where I got these. I'm gonna first rub this rack with a little olive oil. Seasoning lamb is all about creating a balance of flavors. I'm gonna start simple: salt, pepper, and garlic. Recipes and ingredient list for everything you see today will be down in the description. Start seasoning the bone side, then the meat side, making sure I get the edges, and don't forget the sides. Now here's where people get split into teams. Lamb lovers are going to advise limited seasoning and pretty much let that meat shine. Lamb skeptics, however, should go bolder: cumin, coriander, lots of herbs, and then finish it off with a glaze or a sauce. But remember, flavor does not fix overcooking. No matter what flavors you bring, you have to nail your temperature. In summary, if you like lamb, let it shine with minimal rubs. Keep it very, very simple. Now, if you're team skeptical, go with bolder flavors. Next, I'm making a baste, starting with some melted unsalted butter and adding the zest and the lemon juice of half a lemon. Remember to get those seeds in there as well. Okay, I'm joking here. Now I gotta get rid of the seed that tried to sneak on by. Drop in some pressed garlic, freshly chopped thyme, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. Let's give it a good mix. Oh, oops, I almost forgot. Let's add a little of the salt and pepper and garlic that I mixed. Now, I'm not putting this on yet because I don't want it burning during the sear. If you're still unsure about the flavor, chimichurri, yogurt mint, tzatziki are all great finishers, but we can talk about that later. I'm going to be using my S&S Master Kettle. I'm going to drop in a few wood chunks into the chimney, fill it with charcoal about 3/4 full, and then light with a charcoal starter. Once lit, I'm going to dump it into the slow and sear insert. This is 2-zone cooking 101, a hot side and a cool side. This allows more control and it adds a layer of safety, in case things get too fiery on you. The grates are oiled, my lid is closed, vents are wide open. We need this grill to reach the temperature and to stabilize. The goal is simple: fast sear, gentle cook, pull at the right temperature, let it rest, and then eat. Let's get the lid open and start cooking. Bone side down first. And then flip over to the meat side. This side also has a lot of fat, so you're gonna get a lot of flare-ups. You gotta be careful with these. I think I let things get a little bit out of control, but cooking and filming at the same time, well, it tends to do that. As soon as that fat hits the fire, it's gonna go overly dramatic on you. So be sure to stay in control and not panic. If you notice flare-ups, don't burn the fat and don't panic. Rotate the grate or move the meat off the fire. And this is exactly why 2-zone cooking really matters. Rotate it and move it around to get rid of those flare-ups. At some point, you're gonna want to stand it up to get a good sear on the edges. Keep it moving. Keep flipping and rotating. Lastly, you're gonna need to get the sides. These two end pieces make for some great eating because of that searing action. Now, everyone argues about direct first versus reverse sear. So let me have it in the comment section, but here is the truth. It doesn't matter. What matters is internal temperature and adjusting for carryover heat. But try both methods yourself and decide which is easier, but more importantly, which is more consistent. I like searing first with minimal ingredients, then finish indirect with the baste. Once we're happy with the sear, move the rack over to the indirect side. Now, we brush on the base we made. First, let's get the bone side. Since we aren't over the fire, our base ingredients will not burn. Finally, flip over to the meat side and baste again. insert your thermometer. Get to the thickest center of the meat with your probe. This will give you a much more accurate reading, making sure to avoid the bone. Bone conducts heat differently. If you touch bone, you get a false reading. If the bones start to darken too much, wrap them in foil. You're not going to eat the bones, but we do eat with our eyes first, so I do try to make it look nice. Confession time. This wasn't really about the lamb. This was about control. Controlling your fire, your temperature, and your decisions. You master all of that, well, you could cook anything. Lamb isn't difficult, it's just unforgiving. It's a 5-degree difference between I don't like lamb and I love lamb. Remember, this cooks fast. From 120 to 130 can happen in minutes. Do not guess. Trust your thermometer. If you're guessing, you're gambling. Confidence comes from practice and trusting those numbers. Close the lid and monitor temperatures. Open it, baste again a few minutes later. You want to keep basting whenever you can remember, and keep an eye on the temperature numbers. Now here's the important part. I'm pulling at 125 because lamb muscle fibers, well, they tighten really quickly above 140. And when they tighten, they squeeze out all the moisture. That's when people say that it's dry. So we stop early at 125 because carryover heat finishes the job. Now, what is carryover heat? When you pull it off the grill, the outside is hotter than the inside. The heat moves inward. The internal temperature continues to rise, even when you remove it from the grill. That's carryover heat. If you cut immediately, you lose juices. If you rest it, it lands right where you want it. It will go up as much as 10 degrees. So me pulling at 125, it's gonna get me around 130 to 135. That's a perfect medium rare to medium for lamb. If you want it more cooked than medium, cook it exactly the same way. Then at the very end, throw the chops back over the fire for a few seconds per side. Yeah, that's it. Once rested, let's cut. Right between the bones across the rack. Look at that pink center. Juice is held in. It's not gray, it's not dry. That's what properly cooked lamb looks like. And the taste? Someone smarter than me once described lamb as being richer than beef and not as mild as pork. Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoyed lamb long before I learned how to cook it. But one thing I learned is to balance the flavors and to respect the carryover so it doesn't overcook. You do that, well, you can cook anything.
That's good.